In this video, I'm going to discuss the data structure known as the array. And so the array is a fixed ordered sequence of specific data type. And so what I mean by fixed, I guess I should put fixed size ordered sequence of specific data type. So you can't increase or decrease the size of it, and it's an ordered sequence. There's things you can do to change the order, but it does have an order at any given time. So there's, a, a first element, a second element, and so on up to a last element. So it's ordered sequence, and it's of a specific data type. And so you can't have characters and integers in the same array or something like that. It has to be all the same data type. And so the other thing too that you have to really pay attention to, and this is one of the things I think that is easy to kind of trip you up when you're not thinking about it too much, is that it starts at index 0, and so it goes to index n minus 1. And so, you know, it, the first element is 0, and so if you put, starting at the first element 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then you would go up to index 4. So the number 5 would be at the index 4. And so that's one of those things that I think, at least at first, can be kind of confusing for people. That if you have like a number of elements, then the last element has an index of n minus 1, and the first index is 0. All right, so like I said, each element has to be the same data type, and so the sort of general way to start or to initialize a an array is like this. So data type, then you put this little square bracket here, then you put the name of the array here, then you put the keyword new here, then you do data type, and in the square brackets you put the number of elements here. You can also initialize it, so you could put curly brackets here, and you could initialize it like this if you wanted to, so up to n minus 1. So you could actually put things into it at first, but you could also initialize it where each element is just null, if you want to do that, and then you can fill it later with maybe like an iterative method or something like that. But so here are a few examples. So we can do int, myInt. So this is the data type here. We put the square brackets, then myInts, that's the name of the array, then the keyword new, and then int. And this I'm putting 10 in here, and so this is an array of integers going from 0 to 9. So these here in the square brackets are the indices for it. We could also do the same thing for float, and so this would be an array that has float numbers in it. We're calling it myFloats, keyword new, then float with 100, and so again, this is an array of float data type going from 0 up to 99. So the indices go from 0 to 99, and so we could do the same thing for characters. If we put 19 in here, then it goes from 0 up to 18. If we do an array of strings, and we put 2 in here, then it's an array. This should actually be of strings going from 0 to 1. So this tells us the size of the array, but remember it starts at 0, and so we would have 0 and 1 indices on here. And so, like I said, you cannot change the size of the array, but as I said, you can initialize it with these values here. And so if we are making this array, so int, myInts, new, and then int, and then we are initializing it with these values, we would have an array that looks like this right here. So the first element is 7. That's what we have here, then 3, then 11, then 2, then 5. And so if we use the elements of the array by index number. So again, remember the first element of the index is 0. So if we do a console.writeLine and then we put this in the parentheses here, so my ints, and then this square bracket with the 0, it'll print the number 7 right here. If we do the same thing with 1 here, then it will print this 3 here, and so on down the line. And so that's how this right here is how you can sort of call up a member of the array by its index number. All right, so a few of the sort of basic array methods. So we have array.clear, and then we just put the array name in here, and this just removes all the contents of the array. That's pretty straightforward. Sort, so you do array.sort, and then you put array name in here. It sorts the elements of the array. And so what that means is for numbers, it does it in increasing order. So like I think I have, so if we did that to this right here, then it would put 2 first, it would put 7, or it'd put 5 third, it'd put 7 fourth, and 11 fifth. And so it would be in increasing numerical order. If we do that to strings and characters, it puts it in alphabetical order. So if it's a string, if the first letter of a word is A, it'll put that first. If it's the first letter of the next one is B, it'll put that second, so on and so forth. Then array.reverse, this reverses the order of the elements in the array. And so it's not sorting it, so it's not like sorting it and then reversing it. Whatever order it's in at the time you do reverse, it's reversing that order. So if we had it in this sort of non-sorted array here, it would just put 5 to 1, 2 to 3, 3 up to 4 here, and then the 7 up to the fifth element up here. And so it would just sort the array, or reverse the array. So we can do string.name.toChar array, and so it converts a string to an array of characters. So, if you had a string that just says like hello, it would convert it to an array that has H in the first as the first element, E as the second element, and so on and so forth. Then you can do copy.array, and so this copies a range of elements from an array starting in the first element and paste them into another array starting in the first element, and the length is specified by a 32-bit integer, so it'll go from element 0 up to whatever element number you put in here. So it'll copy from array 1 over to array 2 up to this number of elements. So we can use for loops on our arrays so that you can do that to iterate through elements of the array. So things to keep in mind, again, make sure that the loop, so this should say begins at or after the first index, or you'll get an error, and make sure that the loop terminates at or before the last index, or you'll get an error. So recall that, as I said, the array is a fixed size, and so you as we'll see in the next video when I talk about lists, you can sort of keep adding elements onto the end of it, and so it has a dynamic size, and you can remove elements off the end of it. But an array is a fixed size, and so if you try going up to an element that is outside the bounds of the array, then it will throw you an exception, and your code will stop there. And so we'll also see the for each loop, which will have this syntax here. So you do for each, so the data type here, M in your array name, and so that will also iterate through the elements of the array. And so we will look here at some array methods. a little bit more concretely here. And so again, I have this set up in a way that it's sort of in this getting us a little bit more used to this object-oriented programming thing. So I have these two different classes here, and for the main method one down here, you can see that I'm actually instantiating this class arrays demo up here. And so we can use all the stuff that I'm going to put into this method right here. And so I'm generating a method that will, well, I mean, it'll call the other methods that I've been discussing so far. All right, and so first I'm going to look at some integer data types. So I'm going to first create an integer. So we'll do keyword int. I'm just going to call it the int, and I'm going to do 8675309. We'll put our semicolon there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do string the str equals the int dot to string. And so this is kind of a useful method here. This isn't really necessary for our array here, but it's just something I kind of wanted to show that you can take this integer here and turn it into a string type with this toString method here. So now we have this number here, and if you printed this, it would just print it as that. It would look just like that number, but it would actually be a string type. So this the int here, we can perform arithmetical operations on that, but this which would have the same looking output, we could not perform arithmetical operations on that. And in fact, so I'll even do console.write line, and we'll do the str semicolon. And so if we run this, so I actually have this having an output here. So just so that we can return do this, we'll do return, and well, I'll actually need to make a return here. So we'll do char, and I will name it char array, and we will do equals the str.toChar array. And so this is another method I wanted to make sure to use in here. And so this is just taking our string and we are turning it into a character array. So each of these characters on here are now elements of an array. And so we can do return char array. And so well, I guess I don't have this in the main method yet. So what I'm going to do, char array equal this dot array array games. So now that we are using this method here, so this is our object here for the object-oriented programming. And then we are using the method within this instantiated object. And so now we can actually do this, and we see that it prints our 8675309 right there. All right, so we can continue on here. So what I'm going to do, so we'll use this right here. So we'll use that right there. So we have our character array. And so now we're going to use a for loop to print each element of the array. So we'll do for int I equals 0. Then we'll do I less than char array. And then we'll use this dot length property here. So that will tell us that this is, as long as we are lower than the length of the array, we will go through this loop here. So what we're seeing here, we're starting at 0, so that will be starting at our 0 index. And then the length of the array, so remember the length of the array, if we look back up here, so the length of the array here is 5 in this array, but remember it starts at 0, so it was 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so you only want to go to up to the element that is less than the length of the array. And so that's why we're doing I less than the char array dot length rather than less than or equal to. Uh, and so what we can do then, console.writeLine, and then we are going to print each element of the array. And so once again, if we do that, so now we have our original printout here, but now we are cycling through and printing out each one at a time right there. And so that's what that for loop is doing right there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to put some dividers here so we know that now that we've printed this out, so the next printout is going to be separated from it. We can just sort of more easily tell what thing we're looking at in our printout. And so I'm actually going to put this here. So we're going to look at sorting. So this should actually be right line. So we will look at sorting here. And so what we're going to do is array dot sort. And then we want to put our char array in here. And so that will sort our character array. And so now we can just sort of take this, copy, and paste it here. And so this will now print out the sorted array. And so we do this, so we see our original printout, our first member-wise printout here. Now we've sorted it, and so now it goes in ascending order. So 0, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And so that is what the sorting does. So I'm going to copy and paste this again because we want to keep this separated. So now we are going to look at reverse. And so we are going to do array dot reverse char array. So we do that. And so in this time, just to switch things up, I'm going to actually use a for each loop. And we'll see that it mostly just does the same thing. So for each character C in our char array, we are going to now write that. So if we run this, so now we have reverse. We see that this now goes in reverse order, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 3, 0. And so that is what reversing did. So again, we're going to copy and paste this. We're going to do a copy here. And so what I'm going to do is, we're going to start another array. So char, and we'll call this another char array. Keyword new, then we'll do char, and what we'll have in here, because we want it to be the same length, so we'll do char array dot length. And so now it will create a new array called another char array, and it will be the same length as our old character array. And so now we can do array dot copy, and so I'm going to get rid of this. That would actually tell us which one we are starting at, but we're not going to get into that here. So we're copying from char array to another char array, and it's the char array length here. And then so we can do another another for loop here. So I think I will just copy and paste this here. So we'll copy and paste that right there, and we'll do another char array uh, like that. So now we are just looking at what's in our new array. And so we can do this. And so we see that we just end up with the same values in there for that. Now I wanted to show that you can sort of print particular elements. And so we will do this here. So print particular elements. And so what I'm going to do, so I'll use another for each loop. So we will do for each. We will do char c in, and we're going to use another char array. So we'll use that one. And so what I'm going to do is if, so this is kind of, I guess, showing we can put if statements in our for and for each loops. So this is anticipating that I want C equals, and so we'll print out just if it's 8. Remember, this is characters, so we have to put those single quotations around it, or if C is equal to, and we'll say 9 in this case. Then we will do console. So remember, case sensitive console dot write line and C. And so then we can run our program. So too many characters in character literal. I accidentally put something there. So we can print out our particular elements. But another thing we can do is actually change the elements of our array. So we'll put this here, and then we'll do changing particular elements. And so what we'll do, so I'll do a for loop here for int I equals 0, semicolon, we'll do I less than, and we'll do another char array. So we'll do it on our sort of second array there. Yeah, this is supposed to be dot length, then I plus plus, and then so we will do. We can change the characters on here. So if so we'll do another char array, and we'll have this equal to 9. We'll have that equal to 9. Then we will do another char array I, and we'll actually set that equal to n. And here I'll go through each element. I won't record the whole thing, but I'll skip to the punchline here. So what you see here is I've just gone through and just done an if, else if for each possibility here. So we have 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 3, and 0. Then within these statements, I'm just replacing the element at that index, at the ith index here, with some letter. Then down here, I'm just taking that array, and I'm using right here, so it actually puts it all on the same line rather than skipping down to the next line and printing all of that out. And so we can see if I run this, so changing particular elements, so I've changed it so that it spells nothing. So I changed the 9 to N, the 8 O, the 7 to T, and so on and so forth. And so you can see that you can change the elements of your array as well. And so this code will be in the lecture notes, and it will be with comments on it. So if you want to look at this a little bit more on your own, and maybe even just copy and paste it into your own IDE or something, you can play around with it. And so, yeah, anyway, I hope you found this video helpful, and I will see you in the next one.